I'm Edie Lush here at the Hub Pavilion in Davos, and we're very pleased now to be joined by Hilda Ochoa-Brillembourg. Thanks very much for coming along. You're the founding president and CEO of Strategic Investment Group. Tell me a little bit about what you're doing in Davos, first of all.
You come to Davos to become a better chief executive officer. And what that means is sort of being informed of what are the big ideas around the world and how they might apply to your firm. How can you manage your company better? And to kind of get a sense of the Davos consensus, in my case, to bet against it, because I'm in financial markets.
So how do you see, how's the recovery going from your perspective? What's been the last year? Has it been a tough one for you guys? And what do you see now?
Last year was a good year for us. Anything after 2008 would have been a good year, but last year was a terrific year. For us, a terrific year is a year in which we outperform our
and why do you think that
benchmarks. Because we, as fearful as the crisis was for everyone involved in investments, we were very disciplined in buying back into the equity markets and buying back into risk positions when they were hitting bottom. And you never know, it's a little bit of jumping into the abyss, but sort of based on models that give you a sense of valuations. And we did that in a disciplined way and not in an exaggerated way, and it played off beautifully. So we more than made up what we lost in 2008.
That's interesting. And so now when you're looking at the next year, standing at the brink of the next year, what do you think 2010 is going to be bringing us?
Uncertainty, because every year in financial markets brings uncertainty. There are a lot of gaps that are not being covered. People are debating whether we're going to have inflation or another bout of recessionary threats. I'm on the camp of people who fear more another dip than inflationary forces creeping into, but you never know. So you have to be prepared in a way for any kind of environment. Values are not bad, generally speaking, so we're not in an excess situation. Corporations are not particularly leveraged and their earnings are coming back. This is going to be a lame recovery, but a recovery nonetheless. And we will worry about inflation once employment starts picking up. But we could be importing some inflation through
you mean to the U.S.
into the U.S. through the weak dollar and what could be the forming of a bubble in China that might create price pressures in our imports from China. So there are plenty of things to worry about, but there's nothing new about that. This is not going to be, in a way, as easy a year in terms of delivering good returns as the year 2009 was.
Do you think we're going into a new, I hate to use the word paradigm, but into a new state of the world where we're going to see, are we going to see the kind of levels of growth that we saw, for instance, in the 90s and in the early part of the millennium? Or do you think we're entering into a period where we're just not going to see that return to, to the phenomenal growth levels that some of these companies had been experiencing before the crash?
I think we'll see both. We have, in the developed world, we have aging populations, and obviously economies where the bulk of the people are entering old age is not going to be a high growth economy. That does not mean that there are not going to be high growth industries. And that does not mean that we're not going to have that technological innovation will stop. But it does mean that the type of growth rates we saw in the last 20 years were exceptional by any means. So all of those, I think we've seen in a way the best. That doesn't mean that we're headed for the worst. We're headed for slower growth, which might be fine. We're hopefully heading for lower leverage, which is sort of reassuring. Hopefully we will not see as huge a crisis, financial crisis, as this one, because we do learn lessons. We forget them in 20 years, but this cohort of people who live through this will remember that.
Hilda, thank you so much for coming along to share some of your incredible experiences here at the Hub Culture Pavilion, and I'm Edie Lush.